through creatives who are in the digital media realm, so graphic designers, copywriters, anything in marketing, anything in advertising. I help people like you find jobs with companies throughout South Florida. So I work mainly with, we work with all the agencies, we work with big companies, the cruise lines, pretty much any company you can think of, we've probably helped place someone there. So I'm going to go through a few of my top tips, and then at the end, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll also provide my email where you guys can reach out to me directly as well. So just to kick things off, I wanted to start with the resume review and audit. I know that there are so many different things out there about what a resume should be or should look like. So basically the goal with the resume is to be as descriptive as possible, but in the most concise way possible. So doing the most with less. Top things you should include are ROI statements. So I was able to increase productivity by X amount, or I was able to, cut costs by this amount by, producing graphics faster than before. Like there's always some type of ROI statement that you can show that you would be a valuable asset to the team. So that should always be one of your first bullet points. You also want to talk about any softwares you use. So let's say you're a graphic designer and you mainly use InDesign, Photoshop. So talk about the types of deliverables you've designed. Like maybe on a day-to-day basis, I work with, creating marketing collateral, web banners, social media posts, all through InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. It's a short sentence, but it shows what you do like on a day-to-day basis. So that's always important. And I have a whole presentation that if you guys want like detailed suggestions on resume writing, I can share that with you as well. I'll provide my email at the end. And then another big question I get a lot. Should you have an aesthetically pleasing resume, or should you have the standard Microsoft Word resume that's very corporate? What I'll say to that is it depends. So when you're applying like on LinkedIn or Indeed, definitely use just a plain Microsoft one, because they have like an ATS system where basically it puts your resume in plain format anyway and looks for keywords, which goes back to writing your resume. You want any keywords that the job might be looking for, any softwares, any platforms, like you want that because it's literally looking for those keywords, and that's how it determines whether you make it to that next step of getting your resume in front of a hiring manager. Sometimes when you submit your aesthetically pleasing or modern resumes, it's not able to put your resume into plain format and it won't pick up on those keywords. So always when you're applying online into like a bot system, whether it's Indeed, LinkedIn, use a plain format. But when you're applying directly on the company's website, or you're emailing someone directly, or you're posting your resume on LinkedIn, I highly recommend having a very like modern, aesthetically pleasing resume. We're all creatives. They want to see like a little bit of that creativity come out in your resume. Resumes that are sleek and modern are the ones that usually stick out the most, because it looks like you understand how to be professional but creative at the same time. And even if you don't know how to use InDesign, like there are so many great platforms. I love Canva. Canva has so many pre-templated resumes. I have told all of my friends, so many of my candidates, like go on Canva, pick a resume, and it does the work for you. It always looks so good. So yeah, that's what I have to say on aesthetics. And then keywords relating to your job. Even though I said incorporate it into your bullet points, you also want to have a skills section on your resume where you list every platform, every software, like any hard skills you have, put it there. Soft skills should be more incorporated into your bullet points. So yeah, that's pretty much the overview on what a resume should and shouldn't have. And now I will move on to post-interview questions. So I have a lot of great post-interview questions. I'll go through a few of my favorites. Always at the end of an interview, they're gonna ask you, do you have any questions? And I've been in that position too. Like I'm in it, I'm like, no, I don't have any questions, but you should always ask because you want to show that you're engaged. You want to show that you're invested in the role and that you really want to be an asset to the team. So ways to do that is, who is your most recent successful hire and why? For this position, how will my success be measured in the first 3 to 6 months? What are the goals you want me to reach? How will you be kind of measuring those KPIs? What does a typical day in the role look like? How would you describe the work environment here? Is the work typically more collaborative? Is it more independent? These are all questions that are showing that you're thinking about how you could fit in there, and if it's going to be a good culture fit, work fit, all of those. Let's see, another thing I like to suggest is, I have the job description in front of me. This is great for phone interviews. I have the job description right in front of me. Which of these responsibilities is your immediate priority, and how do you want to see that executed? And then, when you're just kind of trying to get to know the interviewer more, you can always ask, what do you like most about this company? How would you describe the environment? What was it like when you first started here? Because it gets them talking too, and it shows that you're engaged and you want to learn more about them and the team itself. So that's really important too. You always want to turn it back to, the attention on them, so they feel like you're having a conversation with them. And I have a list of, a bunch of these questions. So again, you'll have my email, and you can email me and I can share this whole list with you. And then I wanted to kind of touch on the power of networking in our virtual landscape. I know when I first graduated, I was like terrified of networking, even in person, and now even that's kind of been taken away. And now we are kind of fully remote virtual networking. What I will say is virtual networking right now is huge. Everyone is open to helping people. Everyone is there to either lend you some advice or to, kind of introduce you to the right person. Maybe it's a company you're interested in and they have a friend who works there and you really hit it off with them. They're going to make that connection. So LinkedIn is so, so, so important. Like I have people who come to me with no LinkedIns, and it's like, that's the number one thing that employers go and check. They want to make sure that you have a professional LinkedIn, that you're active on LinkedIn. There are so many great resources. There's so many great, thought leaders on LinkedIn, and hiring managers are always there. So you're always going to have this opportunity to connect with them, and just even having them on your feed is going to be great. If you're constantly interacting with their posts, if you're commenting, a thoughtful response to one of their posts, if you're just reaching out to them directly, on LinkedIn Messenger and saying, hey, I really like your company. Can you tell me more about what the environment is like? Or, hey, do you have any tips for a creative who is just starting to look for a job right now? Like, that's a great way to talk to some people at agencies. It is going to be so rare that anyone turns you down. Like, people are always looking to help. And especially since this pandemic has happened, I've seen such an increase in people being willing to at least hop on a 10-minute phone call, or, send you an email with some of their top tips or what they might be looking for in an employee. And by keeping in touch with these people and by expanding your network, you never know where it's going to lead. I got this job purely from networking, from talking to people, from, figuring out what I wanted to see if this would be a good fit. Someone liked me, and then they referred me to this job, and then it all kind of fell into place. And I've seen that happen with plenty of people in the creative world, in the agency world, in the corporate world. Networking is so important. Building relationships with people is so important. And, having a strong identity out in the creative world is important too. So having people know you and having people recognize your name, or, someone might be on your LinkedIn and they might reach out. If you have a mutual connection, someone might ask about you to your mutual connection. So there's so many ways that virtual networking is important and can really benefit you. So if you guys ever want any recommendations on maybe some good groups to follow, like the One Club for Creativity is always a great one. And they have a lot of programs for recent grads also. Like if you're a graphic designer, I know they have a graphic design competition, and the winner gets their stuff published. So that's a really cool one, but there's so many different organizations out there that you can be a part of that can help connect you to different networking events as well. So yeah, again, any questions we'll do at the end, but you can also email me. And then another thing I just wanted to touch on too was, in terms of sources to learn new skill sets. I would say that this is the biggest thing right now. Obviously, I think that most of you are still in school, but really building that platform knowledge and skill set. I know that a big question has been, what have you done during this pandemic to expand your skill set? That's been a big interview question. There's so many online platforms that you can get certifications from, or learn new skill sets. For example, there's Google Academy if you need to learn Google Analytics or anything like that. That's Google digital marketing related. Being Google Analytics certified is always a huge plus for pretty much any role. There's Udemy that has a bunch of different creative courses that you can take. LinkedIn has so many online courses as well, and I'm pretty sure like they have it at a discounted rate right now, which is great, especially for students who I think that they do an even more discounted rate for these programs. But anything that you can do, I know everyone knows about like WinCode or those types of UX UI boot camps, like those are great also. It's really about what you want to do next and how can you add value to yourself as an asset for a company. So do your research, like look for some of these online platforms. Some of them only take like 2 weeks and you get a certification, and that's something that you can put on your resume at the top and be like, I'm certified in this, and it's a great thing. And that's another talking point too, and it just adds to your value as a new graduate. So I highly recommend that as well. And yeah, I mean, those were my main points. I know I kind of went through those fast. I didn't want to take up too much time here, but I just wanted to open it up to you guys now. Does anyone have any specific questions or anything that you want to talk about in particular?
Yeah, I have a question. As being a first semester or at Miami Ad School and FIU, what would you recommend us to start doing?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing, especially in Miami Ad School, is your portfolio. I would get as many samples of different types of work on your portfolio as possible, and make sure that your portfolio is sleek, it's modern, and it showcases almost everything you've done. So a lot of things that I've run into on portfolios is maybe you put all of your social media stuff in one folder. So you open your portfolio and there's like maybe 3 folders that you can enter into. Don't do that. You want to have it by like brand. So let's say you've worked with, obviously this is hypothetical. So let's say you've worked with NCL and you've worked with the McDonald's account at Zimmerman, and you've worked with the Nissan account as well. Like you don't want all of your social media stuff in a social media section. You want it by brand. You want it NCL, and then they can click in and see everything you did for NCL. You want to be able to click in and see everything you did for the McDonald's account. Like you want everything organized like that. And you want it to be very like eye-catching when you first enter your portfolio. And I have examples of some great portfolios that I'm happy to share as well. That I personally have gotten these people multiple jobs strictly because of marketing their portfolio around. So I would say like from the get-go, I know your first semester in Miami Ad School, I'd say from the get-go, really start working on, doing some projects, perfecting your craft, and adding to that portfolio and making it like a really impressive portfolio. Any other questions?
I have one. You mentioned the post-interview questions. I just wanted to know how you feel about it, and if you think it's important after you have an interview, reaching out later and thanking them for the time. Do you think that's something that the recruiters should be looking for, or you think that's something that might not make much of a difference?
I think follow-up is very important. I'd say it definitely depends. Like take your read after the interview. There's no like cookie cutter way to respond to people. But when you do send a thank you note, whether it's with a recruiter, whether it's with a hiring manager, you always want to say, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I love learning about the role, but include something from your conversation that was a little bit unique. Like if you maybe talked about, their interest in shopping, like you want to be like, it was so fun learning about like your hobbies and shopping. Obviously that's not what's going to happen in an interview, but you want to like bring that personal touch to it so they remember you. Because remember, these people are looking through so many resumes. They are talking to so many people. I alone talk to maybe 50 new people a week. So it's really about making yourself stand out and like having that personal connection. I know that interviews can be so intimidating, but I think going in really just confident and being able to hold a conversation and, learn a little bit more about who's interviewing you is going to be great, because you can follow up with that thank you note and, bring it back, and then they're going to remember your conversation and remember you.
Okay, thank you.
How important do you think, like on a resume, like KPI stuff is, and like numbers and stuff like that, as opposed to more like day-to-day responsibilities and stuff like that? Because I'm just thinking of like my own experience where it's like I'm not involved with the number stuff at all. I'm just like doing the, like I'm on set or part of a production team or something like that. What like tips would you have for like resume writing and stuff like that for more like a production oriented or like on-set work and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Great question. So an ROI statement does not need to have a number. It's just more common for like someone who does more analytic stuff or, might increase engagement, but you can still turn one of your day-to-day responsibilities into an ROI statement. You just want to at least have one bullet point showing that you added value to your team. So I'm not super familiar with production work, but maybe it was, you helped speed up production by, however many days because you were able to provide this, this, and this. You know what I mean? I'm sure I don't have the lingo per se, but there's a way to turn like your day-to-day responsibility into an ROI statement. You really just want to show how you added value to that project or to that team, rather than just only day-to-day, because it's easy to list off your job requirements. It's easy to say, I, helped do this and I helped do that, but you want to say, I was able to achieve this while in this role. And that's going to be what gets their attention and gets them to call you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Did I answer your question?
So going off of that, before the pandemic, I was working for a telecommunications company. And one of my responsibilities was helping them create partnerships with travel bloggers and things like that. So instead of just listing that, responsible for creating more partnerships, I actually state I was able to increase the number of partnerships by this amount of number. That would be something similar to what you're.
That's perfect. Like that is, yeah, because if you list, for example, if you list responsible for influencer partnerships, that gives me no reference point to how many influencers you were working with, how many partnerships you were dealing with, if you were able to increase those partnerships. So if you change it to you were able to increase it by X amount while you were in the role, that already shows me that you were successful in doing that for one company.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
I have another one going off of that, of the resume. I've been looking more of advertising and marketing roles, and the experience I have prior from that is just most of accounting I had. My undergrad was in business, and I really don't know how to put what I did and to look more less numbers, let's say. Most of the roles I get to are either sales or accounting, and I don't like that, and that's why I enrolled in this program as well. And another question on that.
Okay, yeah. So definitely I've talked to a ton of people who are making career changes, and it's hard with the resume. What I would say is don't take it off of your resume, but kind of don't make it the main focus of your resume. I would say at the top of your resume, put that you're in the Miami Ad School. And I always recommend get any freelance projects where you can. Right now you're in school, right now you're building your portfolio. Reach out to friends, reach out to family, make connections with local business owners and offer your services and offer, hey, I can do this for you. I would do it for, cheap or for free, just because you're trying to build your portfolio, because your portfolio is what's going to get you that next job. And you'll still be able to list that freelance work on your resume and show that you've been proactively working with different brands and companies.
And would you say, would it be nice to put some of the projects that we're doing right now as part of experience on the resume or not? For example, right now we're doing a project for Match.com, but I don't know if I should put it in experience or if I should put it or not.
Yeah, so what I would say is on your resume, the way it should be laid out, what I would do is I would put Miami Ad School and I would put almost like a description underneath it of the projects you're working on. So it's like a job description, even though you're enrolled in a program. So you can still talk about what you're doing, but it shows that it's for school, and then have your experience underneath that for like any past jobs you've had.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Come on, guys. You have Leah in here. Like, ask all your questions.
Would you be down for, if we email you our resumes, could we get like feedback? Is that a thing you could do?
Yes, of course. I am here to help in any way possible. Like any questions you have about a resume or a portfolio, like I'm happy to hop on a one-on-one call with you, or even just shoot you back a quick, like some quick, notes over email. Whatever you guys have time for, I can make time for it. It's part of the service we offer. Like it's all completely free, which is really cool too.
Amazing, thank you.
Of course, and here I'll throw my email in this chat right now so you guys have it. So that way you guys can email me like whenever you have a question. And even if you're in an interview and you're not sure like how to prepare for it, like I have some great interview prep questions and like potential answers you could use. I can always give like pre-interview tips as well if you guys are ever nervous for an interview or anything.
In the beginning, you mentioned that you could send us, I think it was like templates, or it was, I can't remember exactly what you said, that if we send you an email, you could send us.
I have a presentation here. Let me see if I can pull up. So I have a presentation that just kind of would have taken up too much time of this call. I want to be able to have you guys ask questions, but send me an email and I can send it to you. And it has like links to Canva and different like resume template websites. It has tips on the order of your resume, the grammar, the ROI statement part. Like it has tips on all of that detailed. So I'm happy to share that with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
No more questions, guys? Then thank you, Leah. I guess they're gonna be asking you questions on by email, I guess. I hope to have you like in another like career boost so we can see you around.
Absolutely. No, thank you guys for having me, and thank you guys for joining and asking questions. This was great. So again, happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Bye.
Bye.